Mary Poppins felt like pure joy, but movie magic hides real life. We picture a happy set, all smiles and songs, yet Dick Van Dyke says the truth was harder. That contrast pulled me in the first time I heard him talk about it, and now, at 99, he is opening up in his own words. Here is the quick headline value. Mary Poppins from 1964 won 5 Academy Awards, and those songs, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious and Chim Chim Cherry, still live in our heads. But the man who danced through soot also jokes his Cockney was the most atrocious accent in the history of cinema. He also says of the original author, "She hated me. She hated Julie Andrews." That is blunt. It is also honest. I grew up loving this film, so I want to tell the story with care and facts. Have you ever seen Mary Poppins? What is your favorite scene? We will keep the wonder, but we will hear the wait too. Let's start with the magic that made the world fall in love, and then we will walk behind the curtain together.
The hook is simple. This movie became a touchstone. It was not just a hit, it was a warm lamp in a living room. Mary Poppins arrived in 1964 and swept up 5 Academy Awards, including Best Actress for Julie Andrews. Families still sing Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious with kids who were not even born when DVDs were a thing. Chim Chim Cherry is a lullaby for some, a dance cue for others. The blend of live action and animation felt new, bright, and playful. The sets glowed, the colors popped, the rhythm carried you along. You could feel the care in every frame. That lasting charm is why these late-life truths land so hard. The movie taught us to laugh, to listen, to tidy up the nursery and the heart. It made us believe a spoonful of sugar could help us through a rough day. When a film stays this beloved for this long, new details do not kill it, they deepen it. The joy is real. The work was real too. Now that we remember why the magic worked, let's meet the man who poured himself into it twice. Here is my favorite party trick fact. Dick Van Dyke did double duty. He played Bert the Chimney Sweep, our cheerful guide on the rooftops, and he also hid under old age makeup as Mr. Dawes Sr. Many fans did not know until the credits, and they love pointing it out now. That range is why he sticks in our minds. Julie Andrews once said meeting him was gorgeous and a bit daunting at first, but he turned out to be so kind and genuinely sweet. On screen, he makes you feel welcome. Off screen, he was that same steady hand, especially to a young star trying to find her feet in Hollywood. And he has never really stopped performing. Even in his late 90s, he stood in a spotlight for a televised tribute and grinned like a kid. That kind of spirit feels timeless, but the camera only shows what it can see. Under the songs and steps, there were pressures and choices most of us did not see. The next part is the stage, the studio, and the smile that had to hold through a very controlled shoot. Let me paint the room. The London you see was not London. Disney built a whole street inside a Burbank soundstage, cobblestones, chimneys, and fog all under a California roof. Walt Disney himself walked those floors often. He checked the shots, he believed in this project down to the last lamppost. The set buzzed, but it was tightly managed. Julie Andrews had just welcomed a baby and still stepped into that massive role. She would go on to win the Best Actress Oscar. The budget was big for its time, and the effects team pushed the tools of the day. Animation met live actors with clean seams and bright colors. On the surface, it looked effortless, but deadlines ticked, schedules were tight, and one more thing hovered over the work: the fierce opinions of the original author. That force was about to test everyone's patience. So far, we have the smiles and the set. Next, we meet the person who wanted to guard the books at all costs, and how that turned a happy shoot into a careful dance. Here is the jolt. Everyone loves the nanny. The author, P.L. Travers, did not love Disney's version. She distrusted changes and tried to control the tone and the details. The battles were not loud in public, but they were sharp. Julie Andrews even recalled a call from Travers while she was in the hospital after giving birth. Imagine that! The author was checking and scolding even then. While Disney, meanwhile, kept a firm hand on set. He approved the voice coach who would teach Van Dyke, and he even put that coach in front of the camera for a moment. That shows you the level of control and the level of care. It also shows the tug-of-war. You can feel how those forces might make a crew hold its breath. Van Dyke later said it plainly about Travers. She hated me, she hated Julie Andrews. That is the temperature.
The film we got is sunny. The room behind it was not always bright, and in the middle of all that, one cheerful chimney sweep was about to get teased for decades over a certain accent. Okay, let's smile at this one. Bert's accent is famous for being, well, not very British. Van Dyke tells the story with a wink. Disney sent an Irish voice coach named Pat to help him sound Cockney. Van Dyke remembers Pat's Cockney was not very good to start with, and no one ever pulled him aside to fix it. The British actors on the lot were polite. They never mentioned it. Later, lists would rank it among the worst accents in movie history. Van Dyke owns it. He calls it the most atrocious Cockney accent in the history of cinema. And somehow, the charm still works. The dancing and the joy carry the day. That is part of the lore now, a silly bump fans love to rip him about. But laughs aside, a harder truth sat just off camera. Before we step into that darker room, a quick note. You are watching Golden American Legends. If you want respectful, well-sourced stories that keep classic Hollywood alive, please subscribe and share. Now let us leave the accent booth and face what Bert's smile was hiding. Here's the turn. Behind the grin, the man was in pain. Dick Van Dyke has said he was drinking heavily during Mary Poppins. He would show up with terrible hangovers. He smoked about 3 packs a day. He says he felt depressed, even had suicidal feelings. Hearing that from such a bright light hit me in the chest. You can watch Step in Time and see a body that looks effortless, but inside he was hurting. Years later, he went to rehab and overcame alcoholism in the 1970s. That victory matters as much as any dance number. It also changes how I look at the old footage. The joy is real, so is the fight it took to deliver it. I respect the craft even more knowing he showed up and did the work. This is not scandal. This is a human story. The next question for me is community. In a room filled with stars, did anyone know what he was facing? Or did he keep it hidden behind the soot and the song? Here's the grace note. On set, people saw energy, not struggle. Julie Andrews has called Dick Van Dyke so kind and genuinely sweet. She said he was as fit as can be. He, in turn, later insisted that no one would have known what he was dealing with. That keeps lining up with other memories from the shoot. Karen Daughtris, who played young Jane, has described it as a very real 1960s set, where the grown-ups sometimes got sharp or swore. On those days, Julie stepped in and protected the kids. It was a family of artists doing long hours under big lights. They looked out for one another in the ways they could see. And Van Dyke made sure the only story the crew got from him was the one on the call sheet. Show up, sing, dance, be present. If anything, that makes his late honesty feel even braver. He gave us delight while carrying pain. Now, at nearly a century old, he is choosing to put his own words on the record. That brings us to the heart of this story, the 99-year-old truth. Here's the headline from his own mouth. After decades of keeping the focus on the work, Dick Van Dyke is speaking plainly about Mary Poppins. He confirms the hard parts we only guessed. About the author, he says, "She hated me. She hated Julie Andrews." About himself, he acknowledges the accent fiasco, the drinking, and the dark feelings that followed him onto the set. And then he adds a note that feels very him. "Life has been good to me. I cannot complain." There is no bitterness in that tone. There is clarity. He is not trying to shock anyone. He is telling the truth as he remembers it, so the history is clean. For fans like me, that matters. It lets us hold the film and the man at the same time. The smile and the struggle can sit side by side. We can thank him for both, the art and the honesty. So why peel back the curtain now after so many years of sunshine? The timing says as much as the words. Here's my read. When you stand at 99, you think about the story you leave. In the last couple of years, he has been honored in tribute specials and public events. He keeps saying he does not use the word retirement. If somebody called, he would be on a plane to work. That attitude is his brand of youth. But reflection comes with the candles. He has joked that he did more than he can remember and even lost a few projects along the way. That mix, pride and perspective, makes this the moment to set the record straight. It is not a tell-all. It is a tidy shelf for the truth. The clashes, the accent, the private battles, and the gratitude. He is still a performer at heart, even when the scene is a chair and a microphone. Hearing him say all this now helps fans and future viewers read the film with full eyes. So, with the cards on the table, what does this do to the legacy we hold so dear? Here's the anchor. Dick Van Dyke wants to be remembered for making people laugh, and he has been doing that for about 75 years. He is proud of the work. He still gets letters from grandchildren who just discovered Mary Poppins, and it tickles him to no end. That joy never left him. Knowing his struggles does not stain the screen for me. It humanizes the glow. The accent jokes are part of the legend. The pain is part of the person. The song and dance man did both. He took what was heavy and turned it into light for us. That is the legacy worth naming. And if the truth at 99 adds a new layer, good. It means we see the cost and the courage behind the smile. The rooftops look a little higher now. The steps feel a little braver. From here, the only question left is ours, the viewers. What do we carry out of this story when the credits roll and the lights come up? Here's where I land. Fans are not shocked so much as grateful. Many people say they are relieved he is still here, still talking, still laughing at himself. Others admit they feel a sadness behind the smile now. I feel both. I keep the warmth of Mary Poppins, and I keep the truth of the man who danced through a hard season. Nostalgia and honesty can live in the same frame. The film stays the film. The facts help us read it with more care. We can admire Julie Andrews' glow, the bright sets, the songs that stick. And we can thank Dick Van Dyke for telling us what it cost him to show up and sing that day. That is how legends grow, not shrink. They become more real, and so they last longer. So the next time I hear Chim Chim Cherry, I will smile and I will nod. The magic is intact, the respect is deeper. One last thought before we close. The truth, shared in kindness, is a gift to the work it touches. We just walked the long path from a sunny set to a quiet confession. We saw how Mary Poppins became a classic, how Dick Van Dyke's bright Bert helped shape its heart, and how his later words at 99 reframed the story. The takeaway is simple for me. The joy on screen can sit with the burden off screen. His resilience and honesty do not ruin the legacy, they enrich it. If this conversation moved you, stick around for more stories like this on Golden American Legends. Please subscribe so you do not miss the next deep dive, and share this with someone who grew up humming these songs. Thanks for watching. Has this changed how you see the movie, even a little? Why or why not? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I am Sarah Reed, and I will see you in the next one.